Dr. Jae-min Park stared at his computer screen, rubbing his tired eyes. The numbers didn't make sense. For 3 months straight, his deep Earth sensors had been picking up strange energy patterns from the planet's core, and today's readings were the strangest yet. "Hae-yoon, can you look at this?" He called to his research partner across the lab. Dr. Hae-yoon Lee walked over, her coffee mug in hand. The Seoul Institute of Advanced Sciences was quiet at this late hour, with most researchers having gone home. But not them. Not when they were this close to something big. These readings, Jae-min pointed at the screen, they look like energy signatures from a fusion reactor. But that's impossible. It's coming from Earth's core. Hae-yoon leaned closer, nearly spilling her coffee. "Run it again," she said, her voice barely a whisper. Jae-min typed quickly, starting a new scan. The massive network of sensors they had placed around the Pacific Ring of Fire began sending data again. Minutes passed in tense silence. The results were the same. "Look at the pattern," Hae-yoon said, tracing the waves on the screen with her finger. "It's too regular to be natural. These energy pulses, they're controlled, like a heartbeat." Jae-min sat back in his chair, his mind racing. If we're right, this changes everything we know about Earth. The core isn't just a ball of molten metal. It's a machine. Hae-yoon finished his sentence. A fusion reactor the size of the moon, running for billions of years. Jae-min quickly pulled up other data: magnetic field readings, heat distribution patterns, and core rotation speeds. Everything they knew about Earth's core suddenly made more sense when viewed as an engineered system rather than a natural phenomenon. "We need to check these findings with other labs," he said, already drafting emails to colleagues in Japan and America. If we're right, Hae-yoon said, "we're standing on the biggest discovery in human history." Literally. The next morning, their lab was buzzing with activity. Teams of scientists gathered around monitors, checking and rechecking the data. Nobody wanted to say it out loud, but the evidence was becoming harder to ignore. As Jae-min presented the findings to the Institute's board, he could see the disbelief on their faces, but the numbers didn't lie. The Earth's core showed all the signs of being an artificial fusion reactor, one that had been running since before life existed on Earth. "The question isn't just how this is possible," he concluded his presentation, "but who built it and why?" The room erupted in discussion. In the back, Hae-yoon was already making calls to fusion research facilities worldwide. They would need experts from every field to understand what they had found. As Jae-min looked out the window at the busy streets of Seoul below, he wondered how many people walking around knew they were living on top of the most advanced piece of technology ever discovered. The ground beneath their feet wasn't just rock and metal. It was a machine that had been keeping Earth alive for billions of years. And they had just discovered its secret. 2 weeks after their initial discovery, the Seoul Institute's main conference room was packed with scientists from around the world. Dr. Myra Kim, a quantum physicist from Daegu University, stood at the podium, presenting her analysis of the core's energy patterns. "The fusion reaction at Earth's core isn't like anything we've built," she explained, pointing to a complex diagram. "It's more efficient than our best reactors by a factor of millions." Jae-min watched from his seat as the international team processed this information. Beside him, Hae-yoon was busy comparing the core's energy signature to known fusion patterns. "What's truly remarkable," Myra continued, "is that the reactor appears to be self-regulating. It's been maintaining perfect stability for billions of years without any external control." A scientist from America raised his hand. "Could this be a natural phenomenon we've never seen before?" Myra shook her head. "The mathematical precision in these patterns is unmistakable. This was engineered." The room fell silent. Hae-yoon stood up, walking to the front with her tablet. "We found something else," she said, her voice steady despite her excitement. "The magnetic field Earth generates. It's not just a byproduct. It's a deliberately designed shield." She displayed a new set of data on the main screen. The field protects us from solar radiation, yes, but it's also containing something much more powerful from the core itself. Jamin watched as his colleagues' faces changed from skepticism to amazement. The evidence was becoming impossible to ignore. Earth's core wasn't just a natural reactor. It was the most advanced piece of technology humans had ever encountered. "There's more," Mayray said, pulling up another screen. "We've detected a pattern in the reactor's output. It's not just producing energy. It's producing specific frequencies of energy in a repeating sequence. Like a signature," Jamin added, standing up, "or a message." The team worked through the night, analyzing the pattern. When morning came, they had their answer. Hidden in the core's energy output was a mathematical sequence too precise to be natural. "It's been here all along," Hayoun said, looking at their findings. "Every civilization that ever existed on Earth lived above this reactor, never knowing it was there. Never understanding that our planet's core was keeping us alive in more ways than we knew." As the sun rose over Seoul, the team prepared to share their discovery with the world. They knew this was just the beginning. The truth about Earth's core would change everything. Their understanding of Earth's history, the possibility of ancient alien engineers, and humanity's place in the universe. But first, they had to figure out what the message in the core was trying to tell them. Dr. Sunwoo Kang sat alone in the Korean Space Observatory's main control room when the signal came through. At first, he thought it was just normal space noise, but something about its pattern caught his attention. "This can't be right," he muttered, adjusting his equipment. The signal was coming from deep space, but it matched exactly with the energy pattern they had discovered in Earth's core. He quickly called Dr. Park and his team. Within an hour, the observatory was filled with scientists studying the mysterious transmission. "Look at this," Sunwoo said, pointing to his screen. "The signal isn't just similar to our core's pattern. It's responding to it, like a conversation." Jamin leaned forward, his eyes wide. "Can you decode it?" "It's all in mathematics," Sunwoo explained, pulling up the translation software. "Universal constants, prime numbers, and wait." He stopped, staring at the screen in disbelief. The message was clear once translated. "Greetings, children of Earth. You have finally discovered your inheritance." Mayray, who had just arrived, read the message over Sunwoo's shoulder. "They knew we would find it eventually. They were waiting for us to notice." More messages followed. The alien civilization called themselves the Builders. They explained that billions of years ago, they had seeded various planets with fusion cores, creating perfect conditions for life to evolve. "Earth wasn't an accident," Hayoun whispered. "It was engineered to create life, to create us." The messages continued through the night. The Builders explained how they had designed Earth's core as more than just a power source. It was a test. Any civilization advanced enough to detect its true nature would be ready for the next step. "Ready for what?" Jamin asked aloud, though he knew the aliens couldn't hear him. The answer came in the next transmission. "You have proven yourselves worthy of the knowledge we left behind. The core you walk upon is more than a reactor. It is a key to the stars themselves." Sunwoo worked frantically to record every bit of data. Each message contained detailed scientific information about the core's true capabilities. The Builders had left humanity an instruction manual hidden in plain sight, waiting for the day we would be advanced enough to read it. As dawn broke over the observatory, the team realized they weren't just studying Earth's history anymore. They were looking at humanity's future. The fusion core beneath their feet wasn't just powering their planet. It was their ticket to joining an ancient community of spacefaring civilizations. But first, they had to learn how to use it. Dr. Yoo-Jin Choi didn't believe in coincidences. As an archaeologist, she had spent years studying strange geometric patterns found in ancient caves worldwide. Now, standing in her office at the Seoul Institute, those patterns finally made sense. "These aren't just drawings," she explained to Jamin and Hayoun. "They're maintenance instructions for the core reactor. She spread out photographs from sites in Korea, India, and South America. Each showed similar geometric shapes carved into rock walls. The ancient humans who made these, she continued, must have had contact with the builders. They were trying to preserve the knowledge. Hae-yoon studied the patterns closely. But why didn't they just write it down clearly? Because they were afraid, Yoo-jin said. Imagine having this knowledge thousands of years ago. People would have thought it was magic or evil. So they hid it in plain sight, in patterns that would only make sense once we were ready. Jae-min connected his tablet to the wall screen, overlaying the cave patterns with the core's energy signatures. They matched perfectly. Look at this one. He pointed to a circular pattern from a Korean cave. It's not just art. It's a diagram of the core's cooling system. The team worked through the ancient site's data, finding more connections. Each location held a piece of the puzzle. The indigenous peoples of the Americas had preserved information about energy flow. Ancient Indian temples contained mathematical formulas disguised as architectural designs. Korean petroglyphs showed maintenance cycles. Our ancestors, Yoo-jin said softly, they were protecting this knowledge for us, waiting for the day we could understand it. Mayray joined them, bringing new data from the deep Earth sensors. The patterns aren't just instructions, she said excitedly. They're access codes. Each site corresponds to a different core system. The team realized they were looking at a worldwide maintenance manual, written in stone and preserved across millennia. Their ancestors hadn't just known about the core, they had been its guardians. As they mapped out more sites, a complete picture emerged. The builders hadn't abandoned Earth, they had left it in humanity's care, trusting that one day we would grow advanced enough to understand our inheritance. We need to visit these sites, Jae-min said, already planning expeditions. There might be more than just drawings. There might be actual interfaces to the core itself. The race was on. Somewhere in humanity's past lay the keys to humanity's future, carved in stone by ancestors who had kept this secret safe for thousands of years. Dr. Jae-ho Bak's hands shook as he looked at the readings. After weeks of studying the core's patterns, he had found something terrifying. The reactor was becoming unstable. The containment field is weakening, he explained to the emergency meeting. The core's fusion reaction is growing stronger, but the ancient control systems aren't compensating properly. Jae-min and Hae-yoon exchanged worried looks. They had gathered in the Seoul Institute's main lab, where screens showed real-time data from the core. How long do we have? Mireille asked, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. 3 months, Jae-ho replied. Maybe less. If we don't stabilize it, the reaction will break through Earth's magnetic shield. The result would be... He didn't need to finish. Everyone knew what an uncontrolled fusion reaction would do to Earth. The team worked frantically to understand the problem. The ancient maintenance protocols they had discovered weren't enough. The core's reaction had grown too powerful over billions of years. It's like an engine that's been running too long without proper maintenance, Hae-yoon explained to the emergency UN meeting via video call. The builders expected us to find their instructions sooner. Now we're trying to fix a problem that's been growing for thousands of years. Earthquakes began increasing worldwide. The magnetic field started fluctuating, causing problems with electronics and communications. People noticed their compasses no longer pointed reliably north. We need to think differently, Jae-min said one night, after another failed attempt to stabilize the core. The builders didn't just leave us instructions, they left us a test. This crisis, maybe it's part of the test. The team gathered around as he explained his theory. The builders wanted to make sure humanity was ready for their technology. What better way than to force them to prove they could handle it in a crisis? So they built in this instability. Mireille realized. They knew it would happen eventually. The question is, can we solve it? Time was running out. Earth's core, the same reactor that had made life possible, was now threatening to destroy it. The team had to find a solution fast, But ancient instructions and modern science didn't seem to be enough. They needed something more. They needed to prove humanity deserved its inheritance. The fate of Earth depended on it. Dr. Dae-Yun Song hadn't slept in 3 days. Her quantum computing lab in the Seoul Institute had become her home as she worked to decode the remaining alien instructions. Time was running out, but she had just made a breakthrough. The ancient patterns, she explained to the team, they're not just instructions. They're pieces of code. The builders left us a program. The room went quiet. On her main screen, complex equations flowed as her quantum computer processed the ancient symbols. Each archaeological site, she continued, contains part of a larger program. When combined, they form an interface to control the core. Janmin leaned forward. Can we use it to stabilize the reactor? Yes, Dae-Yun said, but we need to combine old and new. The builder's code needs to run on our quantum computers. They wanted us to add our technology to theirs. The team worked around the clock. Hae-Yoon and Mi-rae adapted the ancient codes to modern systems. Ji-ho monitored the core's increasing instability. Yu-jin provided more archaeological data as it was discovered. It's like a key and lock, Dae-Yun explained as they worked. The builders provided the key through ancient civilizations, but the lock needs modern technology to turn it. With less than a week remaining before critical failure, they'd made their attempt. Dae-Yun's quantum computers connected to monitoring stations worldwide. The ancient code, now merged with modern programming, began to run. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the core's energy patterns began to shift. It's working, Ji-ho shouted, watching his monitors. The containment field is strengthening. The reaction is stabilizing. The team watched in amazement as the core's chaos settled into a new, stable pattern. The ancient and modern technologies worked together perfectly, just as the builders had planned. They knew, Hae-Yoon said softly. They knew we would need both, our past and our present working together. The crisis was over. Humanity had passed the test. They had proven they could handle the power they had inherited by combining the wisdom of their ancestors with the technology of their present. Now it was time to learn what else the builders had left for them to discover. 1 year after the crisis, Dr. Jamin Park stood at the window of the new Global Core Management Center in Seoul. Below him, the city gleamed with lights powered by the core's now controlled energy. Amazing how much has changed, Hae-Yoon said, joining him at the window. On their screens, data flowed smoothly from the core's monitoring systems. The fusion reactor at Earth's heart was now working better than ever. We're not just using it for power anymore, she continued. The builders left us so much more. She was right. Once they had stabilized the core, they discovered its true potential. The reactor wasn't just a power source. It was a gateway to advanced technology the builders had left for humanity to find. Mi-rae entered the room, carrying new data from her quantum lab. The core's gravity controls are responding, she announced. We can actually adjust Earth's gravity field now. Just slightly, but it's working. This was just the beginning. The team had learned that the core could do things they had never imagined. It could control gravity, generate shields strong enough for deep space travel, and even create stable wormholes, once they learned how to use it properly. Dae-Yun's quantum computers were still decoding new instructions daily. Each discovery brought humanity closer to the stars. Already, they were planning the first tests of core-powered spacecraft. The builders knew exactly what they were doing, Jamin said, watching a test of the new gravity controls. They didn't just give us power. They gave us a teacher. In labs around the world, scientists were learning from the core's technology. New materials, new energy systems, new ways of understanding the universe, all hidden within the machine they had walked on for millions of years. Yu-jin had found more ancient sites, each containing new pieces of the builder's knowledge. Our ancestors protected this knowledge for us, she often said. Now we're finally ready to use it. As night fell over Seoul, Jamin thought about how far they had come. Humanity had not only survived its greatest crisis, It had emerged stronger, wiser, and ready for its next step into the cosmos. The core beneath their feet hummed with power, no longer just keeping Earth alive, but preparing humanity for its journey to the stars. They had inherited more than a fusion reactor. They had inherited their future, and they were finally ready to claim it.